Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Left Konoha, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Sakura and Ino finally recovered from their shock and faced each other in the training grounds. Ino had a smirk in place, confident that she would be able to kick Sakura's butt like nothing. She was certain, from all the teasing and competing she did against Sakura in the academy, that from her infatuation with Sasuke, that she hadn't improved at all. How terribly wrong she was. Ino was out of her thoughts when Naruto spoke up. Sakura, there is no need to take him off. Fine, Naruto-kun. You ready, Ino pig? 'Cause I'm not going easy on you. Sakura announced, dropping into the stance that Naruto taught her. Because he was more powerfully built and had his own style of fighting that couldn't be copied, Naruto taught her one that he picked up from watching a group of genins with their sensei. She had perfect chakra control, and her store of chakra was steadily increasing. She had recently reached the level Naruto was at when he turned 4. And that was bordering on Chunin. I was ready the day I was born. All I'm wondering is if you're ready to get your ass handed to you, billboard brow. Ino challenged, dropping into her family taijutsu style. And that wasn't anything important, and very well known. Let's just get this over with so I can go with my new teacher. Sakura stayed still, observing her opponent. Ino was the impatient type, so she charged after the first couple minutes. Sakura was ready, and blocked her punch. Ino looked surprised and openly gaped. Sakura wasn't supposed to be this good. Taking the advantage, Sakura ed her fist and drove it into her stomach, resulting in the breath being forced out of her. Ino doubled over and tried to catch her breath. Sakura didn't give her a chance and quickly kneed her face. Ino flew up into the air, her back arching slightly before landing back on earth with a loud thump. Sakura jumped back 4 feet and dropped back into her stance. Ino coughed a bit before getting up and wiping her mouth free of the bee. She glared at Sakura and said, "Okay, enough playing around. I ain't going easy on you anymore. I will prove that my love for Naruto-kun is far more pleasing than yours is, billboard brow. Bring it on." Sakura challenged once again, smirking. Ino charged once again and kicked Sakura. But Sakura brought her forearm up and successfully blocked it. Recovering quickly, Ino brought her foot down and twisted around, bringing her left foot up for a roundhouse kick to the face. Sakura leaned backwards, easily dodging the offending foot. Before Ino could try anything else, Sakura lashed out with her foot and caught Ino in the ribs. She stumbled backwards a bit, and Sakura took the advantage to do a leg sweep. Ino felt her legs sweep out from under her, but before she could land, Sakura put her arm behind herself, crouched neatly and then twirled around, viciously delivering a low roundhouse kick to her stomach. Yet again, Ino had the air forced out of her and she was sent 3 meters away, and rolled about another 2. Sakura stood up from her current position and stood there, waiting. When Ino didn't get up after a few minutes, Sakura walked up to her and rolled her on her back. She was out cold. Sakura smiled and performed the healing jutsu Naruto taught her. When she was finished, she picked Ino up and walked to the group. "Excellent job, Sakura-chan. But what was all that stuff about me?" Naruto asked, clapping a bit. Sakura blushed, a deep red color, for 2 reasons. 1. Naruto added the suffix chan to her name, and 2. He heard Ino proclamation. Not that she was surprised, but she kinda hoped he was too intent on the fight to really notice. "It's nothing, Naruto-kun. It's just some crazy idea Ino came up with to challenge me." She turned to Sasuke. "Good luck, Sasuke-kun." Naruto sweat dropped. The typical answer of the great Uchiha Sasuke out in public. Naruto briefly wondered how the people would react when they found out that their local demon was able to get the beloved Sasuke to open up and smile. He seriously doubted that they would believe him. After all, who would believe some demon? "Where did you learn how to do that?" Chuji asked, still eating his chips. "Ino has the best taijutsu in our group. We seriously thought she was going to win. I learned that style from Naruto-kun. He's been teaching me and Sasuke-kun for a while now, actually, a few days after that invasion. That was 3.5 months ago. Were you even going all out?" Shikamaru asked lazily, yawning. Nope. If I was, she'd be down in 30 seconds flat. Sakura smiled, and turned to watch the next fight. It was between Sasuke and the weirdo with caterpillar eyebrows, bowl-shaped hair and green spandex jumpsuit. Tsunade looked over at the girl she was requested to teach, slightly impressed. She was even more impressed with her chakra control and knowledge of medical jutsus. Obviously, Naruto taught her a couple of them to heal Sasuke of any major injuries after training. She turned to Naruto and said, "Fine, brat. I will train Sakura for the remaining 2 weeks. After this fight, why don't we hit the casino? I wanna see if Lady Luck still favors you. Sorry, Tsunade-sama, but I have something to do after this. And even if I didn't, I wouldn't want to lose my luck because you want some more spending money. Or are you in debt again?" "No, I'm not in debt. Shizune is actually happy that we aren't. Now she can further her training faster than before." Tsunade informed him before paying attention the spar. Naruto followed suit, and just in time, for they began just then. Sasuke, still being the ever-impatient type, charged first and aired his fist for a punch. Lee brought up his left forearm to block, but at the last second, Sasuke pulled back his fist, making Lee confused, and dropped to the ground in a low crouch. Before Lee could comprehend what happened, Sasuke shifted his position and delivered a foot upper C to Lee's chin. Lee flew upwards, but recovered quickly and did a quick backflip, landing gracefully. Sasuke didn't give him a chance to retaliate and ran at him. Lee did recover enough to block Sasuke's side kick, and tried to punch him in the face. Sasuke quickly moved back and dodged it. He pushed his right leg back and bent his left to a 90-degree angle before twisting around and performing a powerful chakra-enhanced kick that connected with Lee's thigh. Lee stumbled to the side before sweeping around and his right foot connected with Sasuke's C. Sasuke flew back a few feet before a backflip with his hands and immediately dropped into his taijutsu stance. Lee charged quickly, his fist ready. Sasuke couldn't dodge in time, so he quickly lashed out with his leg and caught him in the C. Lee managed to kick Sasuke in the face as he was flying back. Sasuke careened back, his nose B. He scowled and ran back at Lee. Lee managed to land on his feet in time to block Sasuke's flying kick, quickly grabbing it, and flung Sasuke away. Not giving him any time, Lee went after him, delivering a punch to his ribs. Sasuke took it with a small grunt and threw a punch at Lee. He caught his hand in a surprising grip and squeezed. Sasuke's scowl deepened and kicked Lee in the side. Lee caught his leg with his free hand and kept it there. Sasuke smirked and pushed off the ground with his free leg. Lee was surprised and was unable to do anything when Sasuke arched over his head and wrapped his free leg around Lee's en. With his equilibrium out of balance and the extra weight, Lee fell to the ground, face down. Sasuke's leg was still around his en and getting tighter. "Forfeit or I will force you into submission," Sasuke panted. Lee had no choice, he was starting to lose consciousness. "Fine, I forfeit." Sasuke nodded and let Lee go. He slowly got up and winced at the pain in his nose. Lee got up too and scowled slightly, a look of determination entering his eyes. "Alas, I have a new rival. I will not stop training until I beat you, Uchiha Sasuke. I will start out with 2,000 push-ups, and if I cannot do that, I will run around Konoha 200 times. And if I cannot do that, I will." The rest of his proclamation was ignored. Sasuke's smirk never left his face as he walked back to the group. "Good job, Sasuke. But don't let it go to your head. That would be worse than underestimating your opponent," Naruto told him, patting him on the back. Whatever. I'm going to train for a bit. You coming?" Sasuke asked, stuffing his hands in his pockets. "Can't. I have to do something. Kakashi-san will meet you at training grounds 7 at 7 sharp. And don't worry about him being late. I'm holding his Ika Paradise collection hostage, so he wouldn't dare be late for anything. I'll see ya later." Naruto waved goodbye before puffing off. Sasuke shrugged before walking away from the training ground he was in. The rest of the Rookie 11 dispersed, some shocked at the amount of improvement they went through, some pissed about losing, and some in awe. Tsunade cleared her throat and said, "Sakura, please come with me, we have a lot to talk about." Sakura smiled before replying, "Okay, Tsunade-sensei. Lead the way." Tsunade smiled back at her before leading the younger Kunoichi to her apartment. Naruto reappeared in front of the orphanage he lived in before leaving. He walked in, his tail swaying lazily behind him. There were no children around and he was thankful for that. He never really did like kids, but held a small area in his heart for the lonely, sad, and all around unwanted ones. He snuck past the manager and followed his memories to his old broom closet. It took 10 minutes but he finally found it. His shaky hand came up to the door handle and opened it. It was exactly how it looked when he left, except covered in dust. The bed stank badly, and the papers were rumpled with yellow spots all over. Naruto carefully moved them out of the way and lifted up the floorboard. With his strength, it came easily and he set it aside. He saw the aged picture exactly where it fell. He picked it up tenderly and stood up. The small broom closet was small for him when he was younger, but now, he could barely fit. He still had to slouch. He slowly backed out of the small room and closed the door with a small click. He quietly walked away, and when the stench finally disappeared, he stopped and examined the picture. It was exactly how it looked in his dream memory. From her lilac eyes, to her simple, yet beautiful kimono and brown hair, it was the very same picture. He felt that connection he did when he was younger form in his heart. He needed to know who she was. He quickly exited the building and teleported to the Hokage's office. When he arrived, Sarutobi looked up with a slightly surprised expression on his face. "What brings you here, Naruto-kun?" he asked, setting his pen down while his clone scribbled away. "So, he did take my advice." Naruto walked up to his desk and set the picture on top of the papers. "I want to know who she is." The Sandaime looked at the picture in curiosity and almost choked. Naruto frowned and asked, "What is it, old man? Do you know who it is or not?" Sarutobi nodded, looking up at Naruto. "Before I answer your question, I need to know. Where did you find this?" "Oh, yeah, I kinda found it under your desk when I was 2 and kept it. She was very pretty and I enjoyed looking at the picture," Naruto answered. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow, but didn't comment. He looked back at the picture and asked, "Do you feel anything when you look at her?" This confused Naruto. "Yeah, sometimes I feel as safe, loved, wanted. Sometimes, I feel sadness that I didn't know who she was. I felt that if she was alive, I could personally meet her, and thank her." "Do you know who she is?" Sarutobi sighed and picked up the picture. "Yes, I know who she is and regretfully, she's in the QB attack. She had birth complications and from B loss. Her child was alive though, and that's what mattered to her." Naruto was beginning to get frustrated. "Can you just tell me who she is?" He looked at Naruto with solemn eyes and stated, "She was your mother." Naruto's breathing became erratic, and his heart beat faster. My mother. That girl in the picture was our own mother." Tears gathered in his wide eyes. He just couldn't believe it, at all. How did this happen? Was he meant to go through his life, wondering if his mother was still alive somewhere? Now, that hope was squished, crushed, ripped up, and thrown away. Sarutobi looked at him with worried eyes and tentatively asked, "Naruto?" Said person promptly fainted. Sarutobi sighed deeply, putting the picture down gently. He stood up and went to his personal safe, to which only he knew the combination code to. After putting in the very long code, it popped open and he carefully set things aside to get to the object he desired. After 5 minutes of searching, he found the object, an old scroll, and brought it out with him. After leaving his safe, he promptly locked it and sat back down, waiting for Naruto to wake up. It was 10 minutes before he finally came to. The aged Hokage tensed when he saw Naruto's eyes, his somber expression, and slightly hunched form. The boy who usually held such life in his eyes, the boy who always had a straight back, chin up high, to show the world that nothing could get him down, the boy who always used to smile brightly, lighting up even the thickest of darkness was now gone. Sarutobi cleared his throat and began, "I am really sorry you had to find out like this, Naruto-kun, but for your safety, you were not to be told. Both your mother and father had a lot of enemies, most from the last great shinobi war. When the QB no yokai attacked that day, your mother was in labor with you. She was having some birth complications, and bled to death right after naming you. Your father, as you know, took you and sealed the QB into you. The result was his soul being taken as payment. Before you begin to grow resentment against your father and mother, let me explain a few things. Do you really think that if the Hokage wanted to protect their village, that they would be willing to risk their own child? Why would the Kage of a village be willing to risk something as big as this, without being willing to use their own? Your father was stuck between losing his home, and losing the only family he had left. He couldn't allow it. You were meant to be the hero for unwillingly caging the Kyuubi and keeping this village, and all the other villages, safe from such a malevolent creature. But the villagers were too stubborn, consumed by grief for their lost loved ones, and their anger towards their They are too blind to see what you really are. To see the hero you were meant to be, the hero the Yondaime wanted you to be seen as. I'm deeply sorry for how things turned out, and if I could turn the hands of time, I would have made your life better. But such things are impossible now, and we can only move forward. This scroll here is from your mother. She wanted you to have it when you found out about her. The Sandaime lightly threw the scroll to Naruto, who quickly caught it. He bit his thumb and spread his bee along the seal. It glowed a lilac color before disappearing altogether. Naruto calmly opened it up and began to read. To our dearest child, as of this moment, we are getting ready for the arrival of the Demon King Kyuubi no Yokai. I do not know if you are going to be a girl or boy, but know this, I love you with all my heart. Your father loves you with all his heart, and he doesn't say that often. You may already know this, but your father is the Yondaime Hokage, Kazama Arashi, last of the Kazamas. My name is Dorigen Kintaru, one of the few Dorigans left alive. We have a dragon contract that can only be used by a Dorigen by B, meaning that no one else can sign it. Arashi sealed a scroll in this one that contains all of his finished and unfinished jutsus. Most of them can only be used by someone who has the wind element. The others are simple enough, but just as S. He also sealed his specialized kunai, his favorite clothes as a genin, that he knows you'll fit, and his bank information. You are to have access to your inheritance the minute you finish reading this scroll. As for the amount in the bank, you'll find out. Near the top of this scroll, there should be a couple of seals. Those are mine, and they have the dragon contract, my bank information, my photo album, my journal from my genin years, some family jewels that you can wear, if you want, and my sword, Dorigen no Rairaku, 1. I fully intended for you to learn my kenjutsu style, and I expect you to now. It is a very ancient and very powerful kenjutsu style that has no counter to it. Ask Sarutobi for Arashi's history and family tree if you are curious. If you want my history and family tree, then you have to seek out your grandparents. I sent everything of mine, minus the things sealed in this scroll, to them. I don't want my child's only inheritance to be lost due to my enemies, and those who want to be close to history. When you become a Junin, you may take up your real family name. Until then, stay safe and don't go blabbing off who your parents are, no matter how tempted you are. You may tell it to some of your closest and most trusted friends, but no one else. There are ears everywhere. If you have any questions, ask Sarutobi. He should be able to answer any question you throw at him. If not, ask your grandparents, they should be able to answer those questions that Sarutobi shouldn't be able to. And one more thing, in the very back of my journal is an address to a tattoo parlor. I want you to go there and ask for a man named Jasu. Once you get him, say to him, Rairaku Kintaru, and he'll give you a tattoo for the Dorigen clan. This tattoo has special properties to it, and only he is skilled enough to apply it. Get him to explain what those properties are. Now, my child, I must bid you a goodbye. The Kyuubi is only an hour away and I must prepare. I can only hope that you are safe and happy. I never wanted anything like this to happen, and I might not even get to see your face. I will be in your heart, forever, and so will your father. He may be a charming bugger, but I can tell he loves you as much as I do. My only regret would be if you ever got your father's ramen addiction. That alone cost half his fortune. And if you ever meet a man by Jiraiya, do not turn into AL, or I will chase you down when you and make sure your life after life is as bad as it can be. I will not have AL for a child. You are practically royalty, and royalty are not L. Love you with all my, and your father's, heart. Dorigen Kintaru. P.S. I also sealed a note for Kakashi-kun. I would like you to deliver it to him for me. Thank you. Tears were rolling down his face when he finished reading. He chuckled weakly and bit his thumb again, unsealing the precious items inside. He put the journal, photo album, jewels, which were a solid silver necklace in the shape of a dragon, a solid gold necklace with the Kazama symbol on it, another necklace that a kunai that was shaped from a sapphire gem, a platinum ring with the Doragon symbol on it, some other less important rings, some bracelets, and a weird head thing with the Kazama insignia on the center, in his items pouch. He tenderly grabbed the sword with his right hand, and slowly pulled some of it out. It slid soundlessly from its sheath, and strange carvings were engraved near the hilt. There were several lilac-colored jewels adorning the hilt, all different sizes, that were put into a flower design. The hilt itself felt as if it was made for his hand. He gripped it gently, yet firmly, and pulled the rest of it out. The blade was 5 feet long, obviously used in a longer-range kenjutsu fight. The strange designs continued down the length of the blade, ending about a foot from the end. The blade itself was the purest form of silver found. This pure silver was practically indestructible, making the blade worth even more. Pure silver is the hardest substance to find, anywhere. The sheath was a mix of lilac, black, and silver. The lilac designs on the sheath were in a flower arrangement that couldn't be arranged by the best florist. They continued 3 feet down the length where they were stopped by a silver dragon that was wrapped around the remaining 2 feet. The head weaved into the floral design, and had a passive expression on its fearsome face. It was a Chinese dragon, the whiskers wrapped further up the sheaths. Wherever there was a crevice, the black of the sheath would show. Naruto silently marveled at the beauty of the sword. He briefly wondered if he could find his grandparents to get him to show him how to use it. And then he was excited. He had family after all. All this time, he had grandparents. He had long since given up on the prospect on having living relatives, but he silently hoped that he did. Hope that was kept at the barest minimum. He carefully set the sword aside, bit his thumb, and spread it along his father's seals. He glowed a bright yellow before fading completely. With a poof, several items fell on his lap. He picked up the special kunai first and examined it. It had 3 prongs with a single seal on the handle. The tips were very sharp, but the sides were relatively dull, sharp enough to impale someone, but dull enough not to see skin. He set the set aside, which was around 15 kunai. He picked up the scroll next and decided to open it somewhere else. Next was his father's clothes as a genin, which looked like it could fit him reasonably well. The black shirt see off at the shoulders, making it something like a muscle shirt. At the base of the neck, in the back, was a small seal that he guessed would be for self-repairing. If his clothes got damaged, it would repair itself in no time. It had the Kazama symbol on the back, which was the kanji for Kazama in a sapphire color with 4 3-pronged kunai behind it, in the shape of a shuriken. Blue flames danced at the hems of the shirt that went all around his waist. Above the flames were kanji that said, inarguably, ramen is the food of the gods. If he remembered correctly, that was his father's favorite saying. He totally agreed. The pants were more like long shorts that see off a bit below the knee. It had many pockets, and some hidden ones. Like the shirt, they had blue flames dancing at the hems of each leg. On his right hip, was the same seal as on the back of his neck, on his shirt. He picked up a black belt with a shining blue buckle. The buckle was ordinary, and Naruto guessed that his father wasn't one to really show off. He picked up the last item, which was a black leaf forehead protector. He looked at Sarutobi and he nodded, understanding the unasked question. Naruto took of his old one and replaced it with his father's, this time, on his forehead. The fine silk felt nice on his forehead, and the metal shone with renewed vigilance. Is there clothes near here where you can get more pairs of these? Naruto asked, folding the clothes carefully. Sarutobi shook his head and replied, your father already has many pairs of them already. They are all in his house, which was hidden even when he was alive. He wouldn't risk letting anyone, but his closest people, know where it was. Kakashi and I are the only ones who know where it is now. Not even your grandparents know, simply because they never liked your father. He never agreed to anything they said, and they in turn were perfection freaks. Almost anyway. Your father was a constant klutz and they hated him for that, just for how many precious things he broke. I, for one, am glad you inherited your mother's grace. Naruto laughed. It was weird how different his mother and father were. One was a klutz, and one was graceful. One was carefree, and the other was somewhat of a perfectionist. How did they meet? Naruto asked, putting the clothes aside for now. It was quite funny actually. Your mother was here on business. She wanted to talk to me about becoming a Konoha Junin and taking a cell. Before she met with me, she went to Ichiraku's to get a quick bite. She didn't really like ramen, but it was good on occasion. She sat down next to your father, and ordered miso-flavored ramen. Arashi had just finished his 9th bowl when he ordered a miso ramen, at the same time as Kintaro. Once they had their order, Arashi ate his like he normally did, which was quite loud. Kintaro moved her and her food another stool over to make sure he didn't spill ramen juice all over her. It didn't work. He caught on, and once he was finished his ramen, he ordered another one. As soon as he ordered it, he moved over and greeted her. She greeted him back and they did a bit of small talk. Once she was done, she ordered one to go. She stood up and waited, Arashi finishing his off quickly. Just as the order came, he had set down the money owed and offered to carry it for her. She declined, but he insisted. They began to fight over the ramen. And then, the takeout broken ramen landed all over them. They were both shocked for a long time, and Kintaro was about to blow up when Arashi began to laugh. Kintaro asked what was so funny and Arashi answered with well, I love ramen a lot, but I didn't think I would love it so much as to go so far as to wear it. Then Kintaro began to laugh. Since that day, they were very close. 2 years later, he proposed to her. The QB attacked 9 months later. Sarutobi finished with a faraway look in his eyes. Naruto nodded. I am practically a Junin. Do I have to take a test to prove it? Or can I get my vest right now? Sarutobi thought a moment, and then stood up, putting up his forefinger for a second. Naruto sat still, waiting. The Sandaime opened the door in the corner of the room and went in. He emerged 5 minutes later with a bunch of dark green vests with the Kazama symbol on the back. He handed them to him and said, yes, from this moment on, you are officially a Junin. Naruto smiled at him, and set all but one to the side. Can you pull out my real birth certificate? I want to take my family name now. Sarutobi nodded absently, already sitting at his desk. Is there a bathroom near here where I can change my clothes? Naruto asked, grabbing his father's clothes. Sarutobi pointed to the room he just came out of, and Naruto nodded. He went in, quickly changed his clothes, and emerged with them on. The Sandaime looked at him and then nodded, a fond smile on his face. He gestured to Naruto and pulled out a pen. Naruto sat right in front of the desk and took the proffered pen. Sarutobi pointed to a line on the paper and said, sign here, and you can take up your family name. Naruto signed quickly and dropped the pen on the desk. Sarutobi slipped the paper in a folder and said, you are now Doragon Kazama Naruto, and you are a Junin of Konohagakure. Naruto bowed and turned to his stuff. He bit his thumb one more time and slid it across a small seal in the top right corner. A small envelope fell out and Naruto pocked it. He took out the gold, silver, and the kunai necklace out and placed them all around his neck. He then took out the platinum ring with the Doragon symbol on it, and put it on his left ring finger, too. He sealed everything else away in a blank scroll. See ya later, old man, Naruto waved vaguely, and turned to leave. Goodbye, Naruto-K. I will defeat you this time, old man, proclaimed an 8-year-old, running into the room with his scarf trailing behind him. Naruto grabbed the end of the scarf just as it passed him and the 8-year-old stopped in his tracks. He fell heavily on his ass, and Naruto let the scarf go. Owie, what happened? The 8-year-old asked, standing up and rubbing his sore butt. Naruto snickered while Sarutobi sighed. The 8-year-old whirled around and pointed a small finger at Naruto, yelling, you did that. Apologize right now. He stomped his foot for effect. Naruto crouched down to his level and opened his mouth to speak. The young boy opened his mouth slightly and was fully expecting an apology. He wasn't expecting the older boy to bring up his hand and up-chin him. Tap. Why would I apologize to a spoiled brat? He asked, standing up and leaving. The younger boy only stared at him in awe. Konohamaru, what did I say about your little assassinations? Sarutobi asked tiredly. Konohamaru wasn't even listening. Konohamaru. He spun around and asked, Grandpa, who was that? The Sandaime smiled and replied, that was Naruto. He's a Junin. He is a jounin. Wow. So cool. Konohamaru exclaimed, jumping up and down. Sarutobi chuckled as Konohamaru left excitedly. Sarutobi sighed again and glared down at the evil paperwork. Naruto went to Ichiraku's to get a couple bowls of ramen. All the villagers he passed were staring at him openly, most in shock. Some of the village girls were looking at him like a piece of meat, and Naruto decided right then and there that he didn't really like the way they were looking at him. As Ichiraku's came into view, Naruto spotted a familiar head of pink hair. He smiled and jogged the rest of the way. Tsuki looked up at Naruto to sound a greeting when he gasped and dropped his ladle. "Why yon dime-sama?" he asked, eyes wide and bulging. Sakura turned around and began to openly drool. Ayami came from the kitchen and when she caught sight of Naruto, dropped the bowl she was carrying. "I don't look that much different, do I?" Naruto laughed, sitting down at the counter. Sakura was pretty happy with how things turned out with her new sensei. She was going to learn a lot more medical jutsus, Tsunade monstrous strength, and the human anatomy, along with using senbon later on. And now that her training regime has been set, she was on her way to Ichiraku's to eat. Now, she had to admit that she was now addicted to the stuff and she was slowly gaining weight. No, she wasn't getting fat, but she was getting to a healthy weight. Naruto once told her that he liked girls who didn't care how they looked. It was their personality and how they acted is how he judged people. Sakura was ecstatic, and confused at this. How can he not care about how you look? He's like a walking god, and he didn't really care how a girl looks. She sat down at Ichiraku's and ordered a bowl of shrimp ramen. Tsuki smiled warmly at her before setting to work on her order. Sakura returned the smile, and hummed happily to herself. After a couple of minutes, Tsuki turned around to give Sakura her bowl. Once it was set before her, he looked up and dropped his ladle, stuttering out, "Why yon dime-sama?" Sakura saw his amazed face, and followed his gaze to Naruto, who looked differently, and than before. She couldn't help but drool. She sensed Ayami coming out in front and heard the breaking of glass. "I don't look that different, do I?" Naruto laughed at their obvious surprise, and sat down next to Sakura. That seemed to Ayami and Tsuki out of their stupors. Ayami gasped, and kneeled down to pick up the glass shards, while Tsuki bent down painfully to retrieve his ladle that he dropped. Naruto noticed his stiffness and said, "Hey Gigi, you should retire soon. It doesn't look like you're in your prime anymore." Tsuki just laughed and retreated into the back room. Ayami soon followed suit. Naruto suddenly got tense, looking extremely nervous. Sakura-chan, I want to ask you something." Sakura paused from her eating and faced him with a puzzled expression on her face. Naruto breathed in uneasily, and tried to settle his nerves. How did guys find this so damn easy? Whoever tells him that asking girls out for dates he is going to them and then burn their bee with a well-placed phoenix fire flower jutsu. Well, will you? He sighed, steeled his nerves and blurted out. "Will you go out with me tomorrow night?" By the perplexed look on her faces, Naruto sighed again and repeated, much slower this time, "Will you go out with me tomorrow night?" "What in seven hells are you doing, you worthless worm? What did I say about that pink-haired banshee? Why are you?" "I would love to, Naruto-kun." Sakura see into Kyuubi's rant with ease, which shocked Naruto so bad, he resembled a gaping fish right then. "Ah really? You will? Great. How does 7 sound?" Naruto was inwardly whooping for joy. She nodded enthusiastically, paid for her ramen, and said a quick goodbye before running downtown. "What did I say, flesh bag? Are you trying to make me mad, or are you trying to piss me off, because it's working? What the hell were you thinking?" Naruto's mood suddenly mellowed. "No, Kyuubi-sama, I was only trying something out. I think I love her." That certainly caught Kyuubi's attention. This couldn't be happening. He needed to speed up the process just in case his container decided to do something stupid, like mate. He shuddered at the thought. Damn it. He needed to get his container under control again. The only way he could think of was to get him to leave, but by examining the memories he's gotten while being here, there ain't one chance of leaving. Especially when, that's it. That pink-haired idiot will help him, but how? What did I tell you about her? I had forbidden you from seeing her. Are you undermining my authority? That hit Naruto hard, but also made him think, all the times he ever disobeyed Kyubi, which was so rare, you would have better luck finding a needle in a haystack. All Kyubi did was rant his mind, till it was numb. From what he knew of Kyubi, he always kept his promises, so why hasn't he killed Naruto many times over? Heck, why is Kyubi so frightened of Naruto being happy without him? Naruto also knew that Kyubi was a big control freak, which would explain the Kyubi attack years ago. He probably wanted to have complete power over it. But why? Now that Naruto really thought about it, why is Kyubi pushing him this hard? Why did he become his friend in the first place? Why does he listen to Kyubi? Has Kyubi ever fulfilled his promise of taking away his power? No, all he has done is threaten, 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 and, oh yeah, threaten. Was Kyubi really going to keep giving him power to destroy his enemies, and in return have his, Naruto's, body? Naruto had a sneaky suspicion that Kyubi wasn't what he said he was, and was going to keep his side of the bargain. If Naruto did get the Kyubi sealed inside him, he wouldn't have been shunned, hated, ignored, beaten, and glared at by the villagers. He would probably be loved, like all the children in Konoha were. He would probably have a loving adoptive family, who taught him the shinobi ways, bought him ice cream, tucked him in at night, told him that they loved him, and would hug him. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, flesh bag? Kyubi growled, knowing that Naruto would submit to him once again. Imagine his surprise when he is suddenly thrown into the back of his cage, tied down, and a nozzle put on his face. Naruto appeared in front of him, head down, his face cast into shadows, rendering Kyubi unable to tell what is going on in his head at the moment. He growled animalistically, something he doesn't do these days, and bared his teeth the slightest in warning. What the hell are you doing? Let me go, worm. Kyubi screamed so loud, the metal walls surrounding him shook with his rage. Naruto didn't even flinch, unmoving, like a statue. His fists were clenched tightly with barely suppressed rage and confusion. Answer me. Kyubi bellowed, squirming like there was no tomorrow. After several minutes, Naruto raised his head, and stared at Kyubi with a glare that Kyubi never knew he had. Guess what, Kyubi-sama? I'm taking back control. I'm not taking orders anymore. I will be with whomever I want to be. And you will sit down, shut up, and leave me alone. I am your jailer, and you will listen to me. And since you will when I do, you will not keep me from using your chakra, got that, fur ball? Oh god, that felt so good. Naruto didn't think that he had it in him to stand up to the one thing that gave him a future, but now, he felt that he had no choice. This, Ani, continues to try to control his future. Well, not anymore. Kyubi was so shocked, all he did was nod dumbly before Naruto disappeared from his sight. It took a while for Kyubi to recover, but when he did, he chuckled lightly, which soon turned into a full-blown laugh. The water in the room vibrated with the sheer force of the laugh. We shall see, Kit. We shall see. Naruto felt like a million No, more like a billion. He was free from any restraint that he felt, kept him from feeling happy. It was a weird emotion, happiness, for he was filled with the urge to K, courtesy of the Kyubi and his influence. He decided at once that he liked it a lot. Headed towards the apartment he still shared with Sasuke, his head filled with ideas for what to do for the date. When he finally did get to the apartment, he already had the whole date planned out. How he could wait for tomorrow, Naruto had no idea, but he decided that it was late enough, so to bed it was. His dreams were full of different scenarios of him and Sakura enjoying themselves. The next day, 5 p.m. Another day full of training. He almost got the Rasengan down, since he already knew the version Kyubi taught him, all he needed to do was use his chakra, and not the Kyubi's, which was hard since he used it most of his life. Jiraiya had also gotten him to practice his taijutsu, which wasn't bad, but needs improvement. Practice makes perfect. He set to work on the food portion of the date, taking time and care to get it right. Once it was all done, he grabbed a blanket from the linen closet and set the food on top of it. He wrapped it up and put it aside for later. Stretching a bit, he walked into the bathroom for a shower. After the shower, he quickly dried himself off and dressed in a blue hakama and yukata that had a red dragon on the back. He tied a red obi around his waist, and tied his hitai around his neck. Instead of brushing his hair, he shook it a bit and it fell into place on its own accord. The ears that he had a sneaky suspicion about were showing over the top of his head. They would be completely grown in another day or so. They twitched occasionally. Deeming that his appearance was okay enough, he left his room and grabbed the food he packed. He left via window and ran all the way to a special place he had found a while ago. Once he got there, he set the blanket out and the food on top. Deeming that everything was set, he ran as fast as he could to Sakura's house. He jumped down from the roof of a nearby house and in front of hers. He rung the doorbell and waited. A middle-aged man with emerald green eyes and black hair answered the door with a slight scowl. He had stubble on his face, but that didn't seem to bother him. He looked down to Naruto, and asked gruffly, "I assume you are Naruto?" Naruto bowed and answered, "Yes sir, is Sakura-chan ready?" He studied Naruto for several minutes before moving aside and calling in, "Sakura. Your date is here." Naruto waited patiently, not wanting to start up a conversation in the slightest. He heard a call from within and minutes later, Sakura appeared in the doorway. She gave her father a hug and grabbed Naruto's arm. Naruto couldn't really take his eyes off of her. She had a cherry red kimono on that had sakura blossoms all over, giving the effect of them blowing in the wind. She had an emerald green obi around her waist, tied in the back in a big bow. Her hair was tied up in a bun with senbon holding it there. Her bangs hung down the sides of her face, framing it. "Like what you see, Naruto-kun?" Sakura asked, giggling at the cute blush that adorned his face. "Yes, very much Sakura-chan. You look awesome." Naruto managed not to stutter, which led to Sakura blushing. The color complemented her hair. "Thank you. So, where are we going, Naruto-kun?" Sakura asked, hoping to go someplace romantic. "That is a surprise. You're just going to have to wait." She suddenly pouted, "Just one little hint." He laughed and replied, Okay. We're going to a special place I found a while ago." Her eyes sparkled as she nodded. They walked for about 20 minutes, talking about random things, until they finally got to the place Naruto set the stuff out. When Sakura laid her eyes upon the location, it took her breath away. It was a relatively small clearing that had a small stream nearby. The reds, oranges, and yellows that came from the setting sun reflected off the water's surface, giving the clearing a radiant glow. The grass was soft, there were a few stones placed near the river's edge, and farther up the stream was a small waterfall. Right beside the river was a blanket with a box of food in the middle. All in all, the location was as romantic as Sakura could ever have imagined. "Naruto-kun, this place, it's so beautiful." Naruto scratched the back of his head bashfully. "Yeah, I found it a while ago. It's kinda my quiet place, for me to come to relax. Watch." Naruto whistled briefly and waited, looking to a spot just to the left of the waterfall. Sakura followed his line of sight and uttered a small squeal when 3 baby foxes appeared, apparently not shy, for they bounced right up to Naruto like he was their mother. "They come to visit me every time I come up here. I named all 3 of them." He pointed to the first, which was a rusty red color. "He is Yugen." He then pointed to an orange one with a red-tipped tail. "He is Taiyu." And finally, he pointed to a white one. "She is Rika." They all looked up at her, curious. She carefully knelt down and scratched them all behind the ears. They all licked her hand in appreciation. "They are so cute," she giggled, standing up again. Naruto smiled and nodded. He then gestured to the awaiting food and they dug in. Through it all, they had a conversation on how she was doing with Tsunade as her teacher, how her lessons were going, and other such stuff. Time passes quickly, and soon, the moon was peeking over the treetops. The 3 young foxes were asleep. Rika and Yugen were curled up on Sakura's lap and Taiyu was on Naruto's. Naruto carefully set the sleeping Kitsune on his lap, to the ground beside him in favor of moving closer to Sakura. She blushed lightly from the close contact. Sakura-chan, I have something to tell you." Naruto became nervous again. "I understand if you don't want to talk to me anymore, but I need to tell you." "What is it, Naruto-kun?" Sakura was puzzled now. What could be so bad that she wouldn't want to talk to him anymore? "Well, over a decade ago, the Kyuubi no Yukai attacked the village. The only way to defeat the great demon was to not defeat it in battle, but to seal it away in a newborn child, a child whose chakra system was not developed yet. It needed to be a newborn because then, the demon's chakra and the child's chakra would mingle and mix to become one. That child that the Yondaime gave his life to seal the Kyuubi away into was me. I am the vessel of the Kyuubi, Naruto finished, closing his eyes shut tight, ready for the disgust that he was certain was to follow. A few minutes passed before he heard rustling, and tears began to form behind his tightly closed eyelids. His eyes open when he felt Sakura embrace him from behind and whisper into his ear with an understanding tone, contrary to popular belief, you are not the Kyuubi. You may have some qualities, but you are not the fox. I still like you for who you are, Naruto-kun, don't forget that. Tears of joy spilled from his eyes as he jumped up and hugged Sakura tightly, saying, thank you, Sakura-chan. You don't know how much this means to me. Sakura hugged him back, rubbing his back soothingly. He pulled back a bit and stared into her gorgeous green eyes. She stared back. Slowly, ever so slowly, their faces got closer, closer. Right when he was about to kiss her, a ground-shaking explosion see through the silence and they sprang apart, eyes alert for danger. What was that? Sakura asked loudly. I don't know, but you need to go home as fast as you can to change. There might be an attack on the village, and you can't fight in that. Naruto replied. She nodded and they both fled the area, wondering what was happening. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.